What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and today I wanted to talk about your theme. I wanted to talk about the theme of your game, and specifically, I want to talk about whether or not your theme makes sense for your game. I see this a lot with beginner developers, and I notice it because it's something that I went through personally. And I think we've all been at the stage where we develop that generic game, right? Like we make that generic asteroid clone, we make that generic platformer. We make those games that kind of just have the mechanics, like we design them. And then it takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of clarity when, we go back to them a year or two later or something, and we look at them and we just see like, hey, those are just so generic. They're just so like, I don't know, just they don't have a soul. They don't have a theme. They don't have, and even if they do have a theme per se, like let's say it's robots in a factory, it doesn't feel like something like Doom, which is like demons in hell and like you're shooting them in the face and everything just feels so thematic, and that the enemies fit the world and it makes sense while they're there, and you know what your objective is and you know where you're going, and all of this makes sense in that world, right? And it's kind of hard to pinpoint at first, especially if you don't have any design experience, so you don't really understand the intricacies of how all these different things play together. But theming is really, really, really important. And I feel like in certain themes, you can get away with a lot of different stuff that you couldn't in other themes. For example, if, in The Division had a major problem with this. So I got The Division around launch, like a couple years ago now. And one of the major complaints I had with the game, I was super excited for the game. Actually, I thought it had zombies. I thought it was a zombie survival game, and that's why I bought it. And I don't know what made me think that, but like a virus in New York City and post-apocalypse, like, come on, you didn't do zombies, whatever. But I was disappointed about no zombies. But the thing that really pissed me off about Division was that there are these dudes that walk around and they take 18 million gunshots to the face. You're shooting them, and they take like 1 million gunshots directly to the face. Like, what is that? How is this supposed to be a realistic shooter? I was like, that made no sense. It was so frustrating. And like, not only was it frustrating from a gameplay perspective, but it's frustrating because these guys are supposed to be humans. They're not monsters. Like, I get in Destiny, if I'm fighting this big giant monster, right? Like, okay, I get that he takes a whole bunch of bullets. Like, he's a big interdimensional monster, right? But a human, I shoot him in the head, he's supposed to die. That's what happens. Like, it's stupid that he's going to take 18 million hits to the face. And that problem was caused mostly by the theme, right? The theme was humans in New York. It wasn't monsters in space. It was humans in New York. And because the theme was built around humans, it made a lot of the experience weird to me. Like, why is this guy taking, like, is he not human? Is he like whatever? Which is why I think they should have went with zombies, because that would have made more sense. But anyway, they eventually fixed that, and 1.8 everyone keeps telling me is so great, The Division, but I haven't had time to kind of get back to it. Maybe I will, but that's a perfect example of theme kind of changing the way that someone interacts with your game. Now, on the surface, as a programmer, you might think, oh, well, I just want to make a fun game, right? But the theme is actually really, really important to the mechanics and the programming and the creation of the game, because certain players expect certain things from certain themes, right? Like, for me, I expected humans to die somewhat quickly because they're humans. So anytime you're going to give me a game where like I can shoot somebody 18 million times in the face and they don't die and they're human, I'm going to be a little suspicious. Like, it doesn't feel right. Whereas it feels perfectly fine shooting a monster in the face that many times, right? Like, or in Doom, like there's a demon. Okay, he's going to take more bullets than, the big demon takes more bullets than the little demon. I get that. But the big human, why does he take more bullets than the little, like that? You know what I mean? So a lot of people forget little details like that. And I think a lot of us don't really realize how important the theme is, how important the world that you wrap your mechanics and your programming in can be just as important as the actual things that you are creating. I was watching a GDC talk a couple days ago about a game called Bears vs. Art, and it's basically a puzzle game where you're a bear, and all you have to do is try and find a way to get the bear around the level to capture all the art. And one of the things that they found was, for example, it's move based. So you hit on the screen and he moves one direction, and then everything changes, and then he moves another direction. So you got to kind of plan out your moves a little bit. And originally they had some spikes, and the spikes were random completely. They were completely random, and they would randomly come up and randomly go down. And since the whole game was logic based, right, and the spikes were random, it was really, really frustrating the players. It was really frustrating the players. But they found that by making all of the elements logic based, so spikes go up once on one move, then they go down, then they go up, then they go down, like just so it's predictable. They thought that the random element might be what's frustrating people. But it turns out what actually was frustrating people was the random element on something that they thought should be logic based because they're spikes. When they added the same random elements to a human, like a security guard walking around the place, the little level, they found that people were perfectly okay with the type of behavior that it had, because in the theme, the human was human, right? He made decisions. He has a personality. And it's important to kind of think about how people think about objects, right? If you think about spikes, we don't think spikes have a personality. But if you think about a human, humans have personality. So humans should make random moves. Humans should go around weird places. Spikes should just be, on or off. That's how we think about them. So in that case, the theme and the humanization of the enemy gave them all the liberty to make all the random chance-based decisions that they wanted to make. I hope I explained that well. I know it doesn't work very well without visuals, which we'll get to one day. But I just wanted to talk about the importance of that theme, and I wanted to make sure that anybody watching this that's not giving consideration to their theme in their game, or they're thinking about the mechanics first outside of the theme, really think about that. Because if your game, right, if you have a game, let's say you have a platformer, and you go and you move stuff around, you move boxes onto switches, and then you go do the stuff and you shoot the people and all this stuff. If your game can be the exact same if you change the theme, like let's say you went sci-fi to, I don't know, Western, or you went, World War II to, I don't know, unicorns and fairies. If you just change the theme like that and the game is the same, and the game can be the same, you're probably not doing a good job thematicizing, if that's even a word, your game. Like, for example, Phalophobia could not be the same game without the theme. The game takes place in a hell created around love, and all of the enemies are hearts. Like, everything is really thematic in the game. Everything needs the theme to survive. The game couldn't be the same thing in a different setting. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't make any sense. And I put a lot of work into that, right? Because I felt like the theme was one of the most important parts of the whole game. Once I get the theme right, all the mechanics make sense because I understand the rules of the world. Whereas a lot of people, especially when we're newer, because I did this too, just try and slap a theme on the end. One of the first games I ever made was like this really generic platformer where there's like spikes and saws and they go up and down, and you just have to kind of move and run from them and avoid them. And it was a cool little game, but like, it was completely generic. It had no soul. It had no life. You could play it and completely forget about it. My whole goal with Phalophobia was to do the opposite. Something that was so thematic and so like specific and unique in that world that you couldn't really experience that same, even if you played the same game type elsewhere, it wouldn't feel the same without that world. And that's really the important message. It's just, if you're building mechanics, really think about the theme. And if you got the theme, make sure it's relevant to the mechanics. Make sure those things work well together. That's all I got for you. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Once again, my name is Tim Roswick, and I would love your opinion on theme and mechanics and how they're tied together. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much. I will see you again tomorrow.